You're either with me or against me. You're either on my team or not on my team. The universe isn't just out there, it's interacting with you. Claim your power by embracing the unknown. This is Tracy with Tracy Talks, and I'm here to ignite your curiosity. Don't just listen, embrace it. I've come to realize life is actually simpler than we make it. We can make everything more complicated than it really needs to be. When I look back on relationships, whether it be friends or romantic partners, there were so many times when somebody's behavior was hurtful, mean, unsympathetic, and in those moments I wasn't realizing the behavior. I don't even know what I was doing. There were probably times where I was just blowing it off. I was justifying it. There was something that I could always counter it with. I was excusing it. And with age comes wisdom. And now I realize that when people act in ways that are hurtful, and when they don't want to acknowledge it or discuss it or look at their behaviors in a different way, I'm learning that I don't have to continue to make excuses for people. And I realize there is a spectrum. There isn't just this yes or no, you're in or out. But certainly at some point when I have communicated my feelings, I expect for you to hear me, to respond to me. And I just look back at my younger self, this other version of me who continued to tolerate people's behaviors, whether it was disrespect, whether it was complete dismissal. And it's interesting how much easier some of my relationships actually have become because I'm not going to just stay silent, just allow it to continue to happen. I remember being torn up inside because somebody who I thought was my friend, who I trusted, who started saying things behind my back, who was being mean and inappropriate. And if I had just realized the signs and the symbols that this person really isn't my friend, they really don't deserve to know any personal details, they don't really deserve to be in my inner circle, and just acknowledge it and not allow it to tear me up inside. It's not okay to treat me like this. It's not okay for you to act like this to me. And if you continue to do so, then I am questioning our relationship, what it means to you, what I mean to you. I'm questioning your integrity and what do you stand for? I mean, there's a lot out there about how to build friendships and a lot of information about finding friends and how having friends in your life are important. But it's also important to have friends that support you and care for you and lift you up. And there are so many decades of my life where I look through my growth and understand that maybe it wouldn't have been the best to have all of these friends that were not healthy for me. And how can we talk about those behaviors and characteristics that are really important to have? Nurturing qualities. I grew up in a time that feels like it was a Mean Girls era. And I'm not just talking about girls, I'm just talking about the whole environment. There were a lot of mean things that were happening that were acceptable. And why Didn't anyone protect us, support us? I mean, when I look back to some of the situations that happened growing up, it's really kind of hard to see it for what it really was and understand that so many of us were just in our own little world trying to survive, trying to get through, trying to figure out what we needed to do on our own when we didn't have the tools, we didn't have the skills, we didn't have the ability to communicate our feelings. God forbid anyone talk about actual feelings. And how many times was I actually going through something and I was projecting that emotional turmoil onto my friends and peers and people around me? And now we're all adults, and some of our core fundamental behaviors were developed in toxic environments. And how can I completely just let all of that go in my midlife? My female friendships certainly have reached a level where I feel good. I have core people around me who I can rely on, who I trust. But still, there's uncertainty and navigation in professional settings. And then there are personal romantic relationships that at times still feel like there's more work to do. It's not always easy in a professional setting to set defined boundaries, that we're not always in control of the environment and don't have full autonomy to react and respond in the way that I would in my personal friendship, which I would undeniably not tolerate those behaviors. It gets a little more complicated when we're out in the real world. I grew up in a time period where I had to sit at the table. I had to clean my plate because there were starving kids in some other country, because my parents grew up in a time when there was food insecurity. They didn't have enough food. They were always hungry. There was a lot of them to feed. And I had to appreciate this food that was in front of me, and I had to eat it all regardless of what my body was signaling me. Even if I wasn't hungry, I had to eat the food. In so many ways, growing up, my life was based on ignore your own feelings and internal cues. That the adults around you, the people around you, had more knowledge and wisdom and understanding about the situation than you do. And even though your body is signaling you you're not hungry, you still need to eat the food. And I can see those same things happening in my friendships and my relationships. That from an early age, I was taught to dismiss all of that intuition, all of that signaling. And I was just supposed to do something because someone told me it was the right thing to do. And how many times did I get into relationships that were completely unhealthy and inappropriate? But yet, it was more important for me to be kind to somebody else and ignore my own feelings. And now at this age, it just feels so good to be at a point where I can just honestly say, no, you're not for me. You're not on my team. You're not what's best for me. You're not healthy for me. I don't have to understand why. I don't have to know why. All I need to know is I cannot be around you. And that's okay. And to stand in that power and understand that my own health and well-being is my responsibility and my priority. And if you're acting immature and ridiculous, you're not on my team. We don't have to excuse poor behavior. We don't have to excuse people's ridiculous actions. It's really pretty simple. It's easier to identify disrespect. It's easier to identify toxic situations. And I guess some of this was just things that I needed to learn on my own time and on my own schedule. But it would have been nice had I learned it a little bit sooner. Take care and be safe out there. And remember, always be kind. We really have no idea what someone else is actually going through. Thank you for listening to this episode of Tracy Talks. Remember to rate, review, and subscribe, and share with others who would enjoy listening to this podcast. Friends can find Tracy Talks available on iTunes, Spotify, Substack, and YouTube. Hit me up on Instagram and Facebook at More Tracy Talks. And until next time, we meet again.